Apparently, we're live on YouTube. If you're watching the recording, check the timestamps, and you'll see when I officially begin. Now I'm going live on Insight Timer. What's up, peeps? Welcome back. My playful apologies for my tardiness, but that's just the way it is right now. We got to deal with difficult things sometimes. Welcome, Rick. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Hello, Alice. Welcome back, Pav. You guys excited to be alive? I am. And if you're not, I hope you will be soon. Welcome, Linda. I see your face floating by. Oh man, I'm so excited. Maybe we can tilt this camera down just a little bit here. It's too much. That's better. Welcome, Blossom. Welcome, Ryman. You know what? I did an experiment today, which is I had 2 cups of coffee. No, this was yesterday. I had 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and it was glorious until it came time to sleep. Not so glorious. No, I quit drinking coffee and was just taking a break to see how that would go, and it was great. I loved it. Then I thought I'd do that experiment, and yeah, what a drug that is. Because after you don't drink it and then you drink it, it's like you really feel it. It's like, oh wow, this is amazing. But even having it at 6 o'clock in the morning and then trying to go to bed took me like an hour. Normally I'm out in about 15 minutes. Oh well, you learn. We will start here momentarily. I just have to wait for the internal cue that says it's time to start. Oh, I wonder if I can turn that. I got to get a new light because this one seems like it's losing its intensity. You know what I was contemplating today? I was contemplating not doing this show anymore. This is episode 48. And I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll go to 50 and then stop. Because there's other things I want to do too. And this show with the production of it and preparations for it, and then the post-production stuff, it takes some time. And I think I might want to put that time elsewhere. I don't know yet, because I do enjoy it, but there's also other things I want to enjoy. We'll see. But it's so cool because I see people here that were here at number 1 and then still here. So people are definitely enjoying it. That's for sure. It would be cool if you could talk back, though. Have a dialogue. I am in the process of creating a new podcast that is specifically for heart-based solopreneurs. That's going to be fun. I imagine I'll be uploading some here on Insight Timer. All right, you ready? Shall we just dive into this? What time are we at? Yeah, we're at 6 minutes in already. Okay. Welcome to the program. This is it. This is the show. We are live, unless you're watching the recording, then we're pretending to be live. This is episode 48 of Holding Space for Love to Be Seen. My name's Tiger. I am your playful host as we hang out for an hour, allow ourselves to celebrate life as it is, beyond the mind's adorable insanity, and we get to explore things. We get to explore things that ultimately invite us to live a more present life, one that we can engage, consciously participate in, and experience new depths of love, compassion, and freedom. My God, that just sounds so good, doesn't it? It excites me. Like, yeah, that's what we do. And it's like, oh, wow, that's like my job. I get to hold space and expose some insight and wisdom that reminds us about how awesome it is to be alive. That's a good time. And this being episode 48, my goodness, that's a lot of episodes compared to 3. Not a lot compared to 1,000. So I guess we just are where we are. The middle way. This program, we are following a light format, which is the introduction happening now. And then we're going to take a 2-minute relaxation period where I don't say anything and we just allow ourselves to be here. Just an invitation to settle into the moment. It's a little bit meditative. And for me, it just allows for a collection of all parts of myself to come here, to be present with you. And then from that 2 minutes of stillness, I'm going to start running my mouth about the topic today, which is befriending the unknown. Gosh, so much good stuff to talk about in this. I'll run my mouth about this topic, and then we will do some questions and reflections. If anyone watching live wants to type in a question or something they want me to speak to, then I can do that for a few. And then we'll wrap up with a super short and sweet guided meditation. That sounds like a beautiful plan. So let's do that right now. Hooray! We made it. Beautiful 2 minutes. Such an invitation for me to just relax, be here with you. Okay. The topic today, befriending the unknown. And then in parentheses, I put fearing the future. And I did write a pre-broadcast reflection for this. I hope you got it. Which is me just sharing some thoughts beforehand about this topic. And the inspiration for this session comes from a Zoom call I had with someone, and it's so beautiful. I love holding space for people because on the surface we have our mind's activity of all the things that seem to be in the way, all the problems. But then when you start to dig a little bit deeper, in this case particularly, what was underneath all the commotion was, I'm afraid of the unknown. And in that fear, it pretends to be 1,000 other fears. But really, I'm afraid of the unknown. And this is adorable because when you flip it upside down or right side up, Lisa, I see your question. The answer is yes on the second part. When you flip these things right side up, you start to recognize that what we fear doesn't need to be feared. In fact, it can be embraced. It can be celebrated. It can be allowed. And the thing that we feared is actually there to contribute to the beauty of our human experience. And there's so many examples of this. It's almost like fearing the change of seasons, where you might be enjoying the autumn time and winter's coming around, and we can get anxious about it and we can be afraid of it. But really, the autumn can only be the autumn because winter's winter. Winter has to be winter in order for autumn to be autumn, for spring to be spring, and for summer to be summer. It already has this beautiful design which allows the totality of life to be the totality of life. And when you start to recognize that it really can't be any other way, we release the fight a little bit. And how does this relate to the unknown? Well, most notably, is the unknown has to be the unknown. The unknown holds space for infinite possibility. The unknown is like a blank canvas for you to engage your creativity and paint. The unknown is what holds space for the journey you're going on. Because if there wasn't the unknown, if it was already known, then it would be the past. There would be no life. there would be no now. And I would suggest that it's not the unknown that is the problem. More so, the difficulty is in how we relate to it, in the same way of the wintertime. It's not the wintertime that is the problem, it's how we're relating with it, how we're seeing it, how we're interpreting it. And that creates the dilemma. As with everything in life, it's never that thing, it's always how we see it. And this reminds me of a quote that I heard once. I don't remember where it came from, but essentially the quote said that enlightenment is simply making peace with the unknown. And I love that quote. It rings really, really true in my experience, where the times when an enlightened state was not there, I was very much not at peace with the unknown. And one of the illustrations that I want to dig in with this is, why do we have such a difficult time relating with the unknown? And one of the reasons is that to allow the unknown to be the unknown, you have to surrender a certain degree of control. You have to surrender a certain attachment to outcome. Because if we get honest and look at our human experience, we can recognize that we really want things to be a certain way. We don't want things to change, or maybe we really want things to change, but in our really wanting them to change, we really want them to be a certain way and not other ways. And so we have this particular grip on a future outcome. Now, if you have a particular grip on a future outcome, then you can automatically see how the unknown is an enemy. And there's a beautiful dance waiting to take place where, yes, there's the practicality of what you might want to experience, but that doesn't mean that the unknown has to be an enemy. It doesn't mean that you have to fight it. In fact, there's a complete transformation in how we relate to it. Maybe this can be expressed as, I'd like to experience XYZ or something else that's awesome. Right? And this leaves you with a bit of openness for what life might want to do, or how your visions and goals might transform into something that you didn't anticipate. And the embrace of this unknown brings with it a very playful quality, as opposed to a rigidity that feels like it knows how things should be. That's something to playfully explore. Because in my experience, and maybe you've seen the same, that as I've lived this life, there's been these fantastic twists and turns that I could have never anticipated. And those twists and turns have exposed opportunities and insights that only arose because something happened that I didn't plan on happening, or even that I didn't want to happen, but somehow in a beautiful way, it unfolded in in ways that I thought it served me. I found out, like, I acknowledge this. I recognize that there's something happening underneath the surface of what my mind thinks it knows, where life knows what it's doing. Naturally, I'm speaking to a flavor of trust here. And what I see deeply in my experience is that regardless of what appears to happen in my life, whether you call it a curse or a blessing, it all presents an opportunity for me to grow and expand. It all presents an opportunity for me to see myself, others in life more clearly. And that's really good news because it shows me that I can let go a little bit and trust the process. And another element tied in with this first element of letting go of some control is that, and my goodness, this is so fascinating. And I've mentioned this in some way or another 1,000 times, but let's dive into it again. You see, there's this sincerity within your human being that simply wants to play. It simply wants to go on a great adventure and explore, wants to try new things. It wants to walk a path with a sense of wonderment about the miracle you're swimming in. Can you recognize this? And you see that whole display of interest embraces the unknown, right? Like the sense of wonderment comes because there's the unknown. The sense of adventure comes because there's the unknown. This begins to transform our relationship with it a little bit. It's like, oh, wow. Because there is the unknown, I'm able to have this sincerity of exploration. And that's what I love most about the human experience. That's what excites me most about my human experience. And the unknown is intimately intertwined with that. Now, do you notice to embrace those qualities that excite your heart, to really allow them to bloom, you have to release the future a little bit. You have to be open to things not going how you think you want them to go. Because again, that sense of wonderment, that sense of exploration, it's not looking for a particular outcome. What it's looking for is growth. What it's looking for is adventure, right? It's looking for a sense of aliveness. Do you see how this doesn't have much to do with an outcome? You might have it plotted on the map where you might want to go, but the whole spice of life is the journey. on your way there, because that's where you grow. That's where the adventure is. That's where the exploration is. The end result, the destination, it's incredibly temporary, because then you find a new playful destination so you can grow. Let's go on another exploration. And the real value isn't reaching the destination. The real value is the insight, those things that you discover about yourself, life, and others that happens along the way. And you know what I recognize is that the vision or the goal is really to set present moment focus. The vision and the goal isn't to capture a future prize, but it essentially says that I'd like to play in this particular direction. This sounds like a challenge. This sounds like something I'm deeply interested in. But one of the things we get hung up in, and this is adorable, naturally, is we have our future goal, we have our vision, and then we're under the mistaken assumption that if we get that thing, then we'll be more whole, complete, or lovable. Right? We have that idea that if only I could have XYZ experience, then I could be whole and complete. Do you see the disaster that happens here? You paint a picture of an outcome and you say that outcome has your wholeness. And so now you're terrified of not getting that outcome, which does what? It introduces stress and anxiety as you go on the adventure. And so you can't even enjoy it. Like, for example, say that you want a particular job and you have to interview for that job. There's two ways of going about this. There's to have the image of yourself in the job, and you've said that the acquisition of the job will mean you're a good person, will mean that you're whole and complete, will mean that you're worthy. What that automatically comes with is the assumption that if you don't get the job, then you're not those things. Right? This is the anxiety. This is the stress. It's wrapped around your perceived worth and value, right? So you've given your worth and value to this outcome. You've given your worth and value to a company. Rather than the other way, imagining yourself in a job and thinking, I could really enjoy that if that's what happened. And this completely changes the dynamic of how you approach that job. It changes your energy while being interviewed for that job. Right? I'm not here because I'm afraid of not getting the job. I'm here because I could see myself enjoying this job. And if you can't see yourself enjoying the job, then it's probably not a job you want to be applying for. And you're probably just applying from a place of fear. So you might need to do some work on that one. But do you see the different energies? Right. And I go through this too. When I hire someone, I have this bit of a process of asking questions that tries to determine why do they want this job, right? And if I intuit that they want this job because they want the money, I don't want that kind of person working with me. If I intuit that they want this job because they love the work that I'm doing and they want to support and they want to use their talents and skills in a joyful way that contributes, then that's the kind of person I want to work with me. Because if I hire somebody that's just doing it for the money, then they're not going to fully engage. They're not going to consciously enjoy the process. They're going to be doing work that they don't really want to be doing so that they can just get the money. And that's a terrible situation. And so if I was someone looking for a job, first I would find something that sounds exciting to me, something that would teach me something, right? The adventure, the growth opportunity. And then I would go in with a playful attitude rather than a fearful attitude. And again, this is an energetic game. And this is no different from even like starting a business, right? Like, why are you doing it? Oh, well, I want to just make a bunch of money. Do you think you're going to enjoy that? Do you think you're going to enjoy the demand for you to grow in certain areas if you don't passionately want to grow in those areas and you're just trying to get an outcome? No. What a shift in perspective. One is focused on the outcome, the other is focused on the journey. And if you're focused on the journey, then it almost demands a sense of playfulness, right? Because you wouldn't focus on a journey that doesn't resonate with your particular flavor of being human. You would see the journey and be like, that doesn't resonate. And you find one that would. And if you focus on the outcome, then you're like, I don't care what the journey is. I just want the outcome. And then here's what's going to happen. Even if you get the outcome, you're going to be like, this journey sucks. I don't like it. That's what a lot of people do. A lot of people feel like they have to. What else do we need to recognize here? There's the experience of wanting to let your heart shine, wanting to use your voice, wanting to play, but then we are so terrified of that because it demands us to let go of our sense of control. And I just invite you to recognize this, right? There's that sincerity in you that wants to play. But in order for that sincerity to come out and play, it leaves this big gap of the unknown. And what's commonly seen in that unknown is, what will other people think about me? Right? What will other people think about me if I fail? What will other people think about me if I share my song and they don't like it? It's almost like asking, if I truly be myself, then it's possible that people won't like it. Right? That's one of the risks. And so the way that we combat that risk is what? To not be ourselves, to not be sincere. And so the strategy is that in order to maintain my sense of control, which is controlling how other people see me, trying to do everything I can to make other people like and accept me, I'm going to not be myself, right? To maintain my control, I'm going to not be myself, right? To maintain that outcome. And so, in my effort to maintain that outcome, I'm going to reject the sincerity of my heart that wants to play. Do you know what happens when we do that? Have you not recognized what happens? The heart and soul slowly feels like it's going to die. It's almost like it completely zaps the life force out of you. And then we don't want to be alive. Why? Because we're not being alive. We're not going on a great adventure. We're not growing. We're not expanding. Because we're not living a life that's in alignment with the sincerity of our nature. And again, part of that sincerity of our nature is to go on a grand adventure. And this is something we were talking about in this session that I was doing, where there was this sincerity of wanting to play, this sincerity of wanting to use the voice and communicate and share. But it was very obvious that in order to do that, this person had to let go of what other people thought about them. And that's scary. It's scary because we give it an importance that it doesn't really have. Right? It's a misunderstanding, like all fear. This is why it's important to investigate the nature of self and life to see what's actually important, because the things that you fear are just fearing unimportant things. When these things that you fear can actually become fantastic adventures. Kind of like the experience with money. You can fear not having money, or you can go on the grand adventure of learning and growing about how you could never have that fear again, which is really to develop your talents and skills to such a degree that no matter where you go, you're always capable to create money. And my goodness, imagine or see the blocks that are there that doesn't see that possibility, right? That just assumes that that's not possible. And this is what blows my mind just from my own experience. Like 20 years ago, of thinking what I thought was true about how I saw money and all the limitations that I put around it. And then to discover now, like, how easy money is, how easy it is as it relates to, oh, money is simply an exchange of value. And so I have to get really good at offering value, providing value. And how do I get good at providing value? Well, I discover something that I'm passionate about and I get really good at it. I get really good at it. And then there's people all around the world that want to learn about that value or that skill or that growth opportunity. And now I'm available to help out. Simple. And then especially in the world today with technology, I mean, look at this experience right now. And I guess even practically speaking, I do this live video once a week and you guys send in donations and then develop relationships with some of you, which results in other opportunities to support and create an exchange of value. And what am I doing? I'm showing up here to share what I'm so excited about and passionate about that I've learned along a growth journey, diving into an adventure. And yeah, it takes time, but you have to first make a decision. You have to commit. It's almost like recognizing what you're here to do. Like for me, it's very obvious. It's like, oh, I'm here to do XYZ. And how do I know that I'm here to do that? Because I'm deeply interested in it. I'm deeply curious about it. Right? I don't need to be curious about 10,000 things I'm not interested in. Right? There's two things that I'm passionate about. Two things that I'm passionate about. One is peeking behind the curtain of the mind's nonsense and seeing reality as it really is. There's an enormous amount of value there, a value that's been spoken about for thousands of years. That's my first passion. My other passion is business. Seeing how is it possible to add value and create an exchange. How can we take what we love, take what we're interested in, and craft it in such a way that communicates value to the point where people want to pay you for your time and attention? That's fascinating to me. And so what do? I deep dive into those things. I spend an enormous amount of time learning about those things. And then the people who don't want to take all that time learning it, they ask me to help them because it speeds up the process. Sure. And that's valuable to them. And then as I'm sharing what I love, people pay me and my bills get paid. And then I get to pay other people to help me, which makes my life easier. It's really, really simple. But you see, all of this is embracing the unknown, right? Because it's like, yes, I have a vision. Yes, I have goals, but I'm interested in the journey, the adventure, the exploration. Who knows if it'll be that? It'll be that or something else that's awesome. But also, too, because I'm so engaged in the work that I do, because I'm so passionate in the work that I do, it's impossible for me to not contribute value. Do you see this? As I learn, as I grow, it's impossible. And as I do that, then the future takes care of itself. I don't know what it's going to look like. But then also the other fundamental point here that's so important is I'm not looking to the future to complete myself. And this is the big spiritual and psychological hang-up of human beings. That sense of inadequacy where you see yourself as less than, and you try and fix yourself by acquiring XYZ, right? If only I had this, if only I had that, then I could be whole. Then I could be complete. You're already whole. You're already complete. You're not here to fix yourself. You're here to enjoy yourself. You're here to go on an adventure. And because there's that misunderstanding that sees yourself as broken, it equates into an assumption that you can't play yet. You can't enjoy yourself when really you can. You can just dive in. And again, you dive in with the attitude of going on an adventure, which takes time, right? You're not diving in and hoping to become a millionaire in a week. That's not the point. It's a life of devotional service, as I call it, where you recognize that, you know what? I have a motto, a quote that I use a lot. And I'm going to sum up the opportunity of being human. Here's what it is. The opportunity of being human is to discover something beautiful on the inside of what you are, and then find a way to share that beauty with the world. Another way of saying that is to discover something valuable on the inside of what you are, and then share that value with the world. Simple. And there's so much learning, so much growing that happens in the process of that. Go play. All right, Q&R, questions and reflections. For those people watching live, if you have any questions or something you'd like me to speak to, which for those in the audience and saw the questions, you saw that I was answering questions in my talk. That was fun. Krishna says, I know everything you said, but my mind is crippling. I'm going to playfully say that the but indicates that you don't know everything that I said. Because if you know everything I said, there wouldn't be a but. And so we can start there and realize, okay, maybe I don't understand. And the mind is crippling. Yes, in the same way that we are invited to make peace with the mind, or peace with the unknown, we're invited to make peace with the mind. And I imagine there's an episode of me talking about this, but there's an invitation, a growth invitation, to recognize that the mind is insane, and to also see that the mind's content isn't about you. This is what makes the mind's content crippling, is that we take the mind's content personally, right? We have thoughts, and then we think those thoughts are about us. We think those thoughts are about life. They're not. It's just conditioned nonsense, right? In a way, it just reflects what's been put in the mind. And so it invites an inquiry where you consciously participate in this observation. This is also the invitation of meditation, to be still and discern the difference between the mind and reality, and see it clearly over and over and over again, right? Again, I can't give you a magic pill that takes it away. You're the one that has to do the work. You have to engage your human experience and discover what's true and keep coming back to what's true. And this will transform your relationship with the mind's content, because it's like, oh, I've seen this thought before. I've examined this thought before. It's so not true. There it goes again. Right? See, this isn't getting rid of it, which is what most people try and do. what you're doing is you're transforming your relationship with it. Trying to get rid of it is fighting thought with more thought. The invitation is to see that it's not true. Another thing that is so important, I don't know why this seems like a secret, because it's obvious if you experiment with it, is human beings don't realize how much their brain function is influenced by the food slash crap that they put in their body. This was, I would say that this has made the biggest impact in my mental clarity and focus beyond the spiritual insight. They really go together, but I'm just illustrating the impact. Where when you put things in your body that are not actually food, your body, including the brain, doesn't function properly. And then what the human being does in its adorable way is it tells stories about your struggle that try to justify it. In a way to illustrate this is, say you drink alcohol all day, every day, and you can't think clearly and you feel like shit. And then you tell a story about, I must be traumatized, right? It must be trauma because I can't think clearly, because I have these negative thoughts, because of XYZ, when really you're just poisoning yourself. But you see the mind's capacity to do that. Because it doesn't understand, it starts telling stories. Right? And these stories somehow indicate, oh, you're not enough. Oh, life wasn't how it was supposed to be. If only life was different. But really, you're just poisoning yourself. Same with the example of the classic story of people traveling overseas way back when, and they didn't have any vitamin C and they got scurvy. Right? Before they realized the issue, can you imagine all the stories that were being told? Oh, God hates us. Oh, this is whatever. I mean, the stories are infinite. But the solution was actually very, very, very simple. Where there was this tiny nutrient that they weren't getting, and so their body couldn't function. And the same goes with everyday living. And in the world we live in today, with the plethora of mental illnesses to choose from, along with a whole host of dysfunctions in the body. But then you look at what we put in our body and we don't make the connection. And so if you really want to dive in to how can you improve the quality of your thinking, take radical care over what you put in your body. And if you're looking for a place to start, eliminate sugar. That's something that I've done that, again, if somebody had told me, I wouldn't have known because it wasn't my experience. And I probably wouldn't have done it. But the impact that it's made on my cognitive ability is just astounding. And then in addition to that, get rid of anything that is processed. Anything. Only eat food. You know what? To go even further, if you want to go even further, here's what you do. Okay, so say human beings have been around for 1,000,000 years, right? And there's been this biological process of integrating with nature. where we have evolved, where our biology dances with nature, right? And so you look at the history of human beings, and what you'll start to recognize is somewhere around 16,000 years ago, there was a big shift in how we got our energy source. And then 1,000 years, another shift. And then 100 years, an even bigger shift, right? Essentially going further and further away than what we ate for a million years, right? Which what we evolutionarily sustained ourselves on, right? And from an evolutionary standpoint, you can't just make changes and then the body adjusts to it, right? These evolutionary changes take 100,000 years, right? Not 1,000 years, not 10,000 years. They take a really long time for it to catch up. I think I read that, for the black bear to evolve into a polar bear took 100,000 years, right? For that change to take place. It's still a bear, but it adapted to a completely different environment. But it took 100,000 years. And so when you have this huge transformation in what human beings put in their body over the course of 10,000 years, 1,000 years, or 100 years, your body is saying, what the fuck? I don't know what to do with this. And so, yeah, if you want to deep dive into it, I would investigate what did human beings eat for the last 500,000 years and then eat that. And then if you can, and you can, it's just a decision, you eliminate anything that doesn't resemble real food, and you'll be amazed. And the first couple weeks, maybe a month, your body will have to adjust and your body will do some weird things. But after a little bit of time, you'll notice a profound difference. Other questions. C asks, how did you mitigate your fear of losing financial stability? I'll tell you exactly how. I went to work. I realized that if this is going to take care of itself, it's on me, right? I can't, especially in today's world, I can't rely on an employer to take care of me. I can't rely on investments in the market to take care of me, as I've seen so many people lose all of their investments and they thought that they were secure. And so, in asking myself, okay, what's the greatest impact I could have as it relates to my financial security? And what that is, that I've seen for myself, is to become an expert in adding value, right? To be so good at my particular skill set and to be able to deliver it in a unique way that adds value, not to everyone, but to enough people where I can exchange value. And then it also supports a particular lifestyle where if I want to travel somewhere, it's like, let's do a retreat and everyone else can pay for it, right? I can just go somewhere and add value, right? Imagine I take a month-long vacation in the tropics somewhere. Let's do a retreat, right? And so I spend a week doing the retreat, adding value, enjoying myself immensely. And then everyone else has just paid for my month-long vacation, right? That's what you do. You just add value. But again, it takes time to be able to add value. You have to be committed to your craft. And if you don't know what that craft is, you have to find out. And how do you find out? here, let's put it this way simply. You discover your valuable transformation, right? It's a combination of what do you enjoy and what growth has served you in the enjoyment of that thing, right? As you became good at that thing, as you understood that thing, it added value to your life, right? Okay. How many other people in the world are interested in that thing, but don't have the experience that you have? Okay. There's a value gap there. That means you can help those people jump that gap. And that's valuable. Valuable to the point where some people will pay you a lot of money to help them out because they can afford it. And then other people can't afford it. And so you just create free content for them, which helps you grow. It's beautiful. Lisa asks, what do you think of protein powders? I don't think about them. I'm not interested in them. It's for me. You find out for you. But for me, I would put that in the process category. And I am definitely not lacking any protein in my life. Okay. Let's do a short and sweet guided meditation. Another question here. So are we here to just be? Are we here to just be? Well, it depends what you mean by that, because in one way, 100%. But be what? To be you, which is what? To be sincere, because that's you. And in your sincerity is the authenticity of what you enjoy. In your sincerity is the authenticity of the adventure you want to go on. And so, in that regard, yes. What's the purpose? The purpose is to be what you are. Because the truth of what you are, to be what you are, adds incredible value to the world, right? It's like, what's the purpose of a tree? To be the tree. What's the purpose of the rain? To be the rain. And as those things are what they are, they contribute an enormous amount of value. And so that's the opportunity of the human being. Be what you are. And if you don't know what that is, then that's a good invitation to find out. You get back in touch with yourself. You're like, oh, wow, I got to live my life now. MJ, if that's the case, then get in touch with me. We can quickly explore that and see the simplicity of it. It's amazing how the mind tries to complicate these things when it's extraordinarily simple. Okay, let's do a guided meditation. Boom. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have a beautiful opportunity here right now. Let's invite ourselves into this moment, recognizing that this is where we are. Right now is what's happening. And we are going to devote our attention to this shared experience. Can we recognize the simplicity of right now? Sure, there's the mind and all its content. 10,000 thoughts going in different directions. But yet, there's this right now. Let's just breathe in to this moment. I'd like to invite us into the possibility of just completely embracing the unknown. Inviting us to recognize that the unknown is not an enemy. It's not in your way. Rather, it's your friend. The unknown is a blank canvas that awaits your most heart-centered creation. The unknown is a playground of possibility that invites you on a grand adventure. Isn't that what you're here for? To explore, to discover, to grow. Can we open up to this? Can we see that it's only because the unknown is the unknown that it's possible for us to explore, to grow, to discover? Maybe there's the adorable and innocent confusion that thinks life is about playing it safe, that thinks life is about making everything stand still, that thinks life is about controlling the future. No, my dear. Life is about being alive. And part of that aliveness is the adventure of being alive. And the beauty of this adventure, the beauty of this journey, is that you get to go and explore while you discover something beautiful on the inside of what you are. And then you get to share that beauty with the world. Sure, it's not always easy, but it wouldn't be an adventure if it was. You wouldn't grow if it all just went how you wanted it to go. Maybe it's time to come out of hiding and to pack your proverbial bags and go on a great adventure, diving into the deepest parts of your own sincerity and figuring out what it is you're here to do. What are you here to share with the world? What calls to your heart? What aliveness within you is asking to be set free? Let's just breathe into that for a minute or two. Just breathe. The unknown is your friend. The unknown is here to support your discovery. But you have to decide. You have to consciously participate in the process. And yes, it might be a little bit scary. That too is part of the adventure. Okay. Now go play. Thank you for meditating with me today. All right, lovelies. We went a little bit over. Thank you for the donations. for supporting this work, for voting with your resources that you want to see content like this. And will I be back next week? Yes. What is that? The 2nd? 2nd of May? Yep. 9th of May? No. But I'll be back next week. And until then, take care of your heart. Go play. Bye-bye.